All right, no more games. I'm laying my cards on the table. I'm gone for Dr. Evelyn Reed. Skin like porcelain, eyes that could be in a painting, a waist I could circle with my hands, and legs for days. Not a single flaw on her. I've thrown everything I have at trying to win her over, practically promised her the moon and stars, called her every pet name in the book. But after a year of this, she's still a fortress. The frustration is starting to feel like vines choking me. Under extreme pressure from my old man, I'd reluctantly agreed to a networking dinner, which was just a blind date in disguise. But somehow, Evelyn got wind of it. She stormed into the restaurant, grabbed me by the collar, and dragged me all the way back to her apartment. Then she pushed me down, straddling my lap, and kissed me so hard I saw stars. I think I almost cried. Her face was grim, her breath hot against my neck. Weren't you the one always saying you craved my body, that you wanted to sleep with me? Well, let's try it. My brain was buzzing. In a flash of theatrical genius, I clutched my stomach. Oof, pain. My stomach. Dr. Reed, you have to look. It's a sharp, radiating. Yes, right there. No headache, no chest tightness. Do you think it's something terminal? I moaned, pressing dramatically on my abdomen. Evelyn glanced down, her expression flat, her eyes as cool as a scalpel. You're pressing on your lower left quadrant. I said, silently sliding my hand over to my upper right. Based on your symptoms, she said, her voice devoid of any emotion, it's likely gallstones. I'd suggest making an appointment with internal medicine. Get an ultrasound or CT scan. I'll go ahead and cancel this appointment for you. She reached for a keyboard. I shot upright, grabbing her hand. No, wait. Dr. Reed, can't you just take a look? Evelyn closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, she was wearing a polished, professional smile that didn't reach her eyes. She gently removed my hand from hers. Mr. Vance, this is the psychiatry department. The door to the consultation room clicked shut in my face. I rubbed my nose, which had almost been flattened, and grinned foolishly at the closed door. God, she was beautiful even when she was kicking me out. Well, Mr. Vance, you're back again? If I'm not mistaken, this is your 30th appointment with Dr. Reed. Chloe, one of the nurses, chimed as she walked by, smirking at my pathetic state. I leaned against the wall, trying to look cool, and raised an eyebrow at her. You're wrong. It's my 32nd. Chloe gave me a thumbs up. Impressive. Last time it was epilepsy. The time before that was rabies. What did you come up with today? Go on, get out of here. I grumbled, waving her away. Don't you have work to do? She stuck her tongue out, gave me a little go-get-him gesture, and scurried off. I chuckled, pulling out my phone and opening my iMessage thread with Evelyn. Dr. Reed, as a thank you for your tireless diagnostic efforts, I ordered you the lobster bisque and short rib soup from DeMarco's. It'll be there in 30. Hope you enjoy. Winky face. After typing the winky face, I gave a shameless wave to the other nurses at the station and strolled out of the hospital, feeling pretty pleased with myself. That night, I was sprawled on my bed, scrolling through my phone, a lollipop stick hanging from my lips, when I saw Chloe's Instagram story. There she was, beaming next to the deluxe lunch I'd ordered for Evelyn. The caption read, Dr. Reed got pulled into a last-minute conference, so I'm reaping the benefits. Thanks for the hookup, Jules. Crunch. I bit right through the hard candy. The first time I saw Evelyn Reed, I was a goner. I always thought love at first sight was bullshit, just a polite term for being horny. But the light was hitting just right that day, and she was just standing there in her white coat, radiating this cool, calm energy. The image was seared into my brain. At 27 years old, I finally understood what it felt like to have a hummingbird trapped in your chest. This whole year, I'd used every play in the book. It took me 6 months just to get her to accept my friend request, and I was still stuck at the getting turned down for dinner phase. Forget getting her into bed. I hadn't even touched her hand. Frustrated, I chewed up the rest of the candy shards and threw myself into my pillows. The next day around noon, I drove to DeMarco's myself. Julian, what brings you in? The usual table in the back, the owner asked, greeting me with a wide smile. I waved him off. No time. I need a takeout order of your best lobster bisque and an extra large of the beef and barley, packed in an insulated bag. To go. He wrung his hands. Mr. Vance, you could have just called. We would have delivered it. No need for you to come all this way. I sighed dramatically, slapping the back of my right hand into my left palm. You don't understand. The queen is very particular. If I don't deliver it myself, she won't eat it. Yesterday, she got upset and gave the whole order away. What can I do? I spoil her. The owner's eyes lit up. For Mrs. Vance to be. Say no more. I'll have the kitchen rush it right out. Half an hour later, one hand in my pocket and the other carrying the insulated bag, I was humming my way up to my baby's department. Before I could even see her, I was stopped by a crowd blocking the hallway. "Excuse me, coming through." I squeezed my way to the front and saw a crazed-looking man holding a knife to a young nurse's throat. Evelyn was standing in front of the other staff, her voice steady but firm. "Calm down. Let her go." "A hospital crisis? Seriously? Not on my watch." My girl was not about to be in danger. I slipped quietly through the edge of the crowd, darted to the guy's side, and in one swift motion, grabbed his knife-wielding wrist and twisted hard. The knife clattered to the floor. I yanked the terrified nurse behind me and drove my foot into the man's side. Gasps erupted as he flew backward. Security guards, who had been waiting for an opening, swarmed and pinned him to the ground. "Julian!" A furious shout exploded next to my ear. I flinched. Evelyn marched up to me, her face a thundercloud, and grabbed my arm. A thin, deep gash from the blade was bleeding freely down my forearm. "Are you insane? Have you lost your mind? Do you have any idea how dangerous that was?" She fired off, her voice trembling. Was the little rabbit scared? Or worried about me? I looked down, shamelessly playing the victim. "You're yelling at me. I saved the day, and now I'm hurt, and you're yelling at me?" Evelyn's brow furrowed. "I wouldn't dare yell at you, Mr. Vance. You're clearly a man of many talents." She dropped my arm and turned to walk away. I stood there, counting my head. 1, 2, 3. Sure enough, she spun back around, marched back, and without a word, grabbed my arm and pulled me into a treatment room. "Ow, ow, ow, ow." I howled like a banshee. Even though her specialty was psychiatry, Evelyn's hands were fast, precise, and brutally efficient when it came to treating a wound. As I continued my dramatic performance, she expertly cleaned and stitched the gash. A psychiatrist who could suture? I was even more in love. But she was clearly still pissed, not sparing me a single word the entire time. A good man knows that when his partner is angry, he apologizes, regardless of who's at fault. I reached out with my uninjured hand and gently placed it on top of hers as she organized her instruments. The touch was perfectly calibrated, somewhere between comforting and fresh. "I'm sorry," I said softly. "I won't be so reckless again. Please don't ignore me." Evelyn finally looked up at me, her expression just shy of a glare. She quickly packed up her supplies, her face reverting to the polite, distant mask she wore with everyone else. Her voice, however, was still ice. "Mr. Vance, keep the wound dry. Come in for dressing changes as needed. Here's the bill. You can pay at the front desk on your way out." "Hey, wait. I came here to bring you." I suddenly remembered the soup. I looked around. "Where's my soup?" Holy crap. I ran out to the main hall, just in time to see a janitor wiping the last of a creamy puddle off the floor. In the nearby trash can lay the insulated bag from DeMarco's that I had so carefully protected. I definitely should have checked my horoscope this morning. "Chloe, don't say I didn't warn you. Liking me is a dead end." I propped my head on my hand, staring into space. "Your boy Jules? I'm all in on Dr. Reed for life. There's no one else." Chloe changed the dressing on my arm, rolling her eyes. "Get a grip, dude. You've been blacklisted by every single woman in our department. Who in their right mind would want to date you?" I slumped forward, burying my face in my arms and drumming my fingers on the table. "Then why has she stopped changing my dressing herself? I haven't seen my sweetheart in 5 days. Are you sure you're not sabotaging me?" Chloe snorted, putting the medical tape away. "Dr. Reed is a very busy woman. You think everyone has as much free time as you? Besides, the line of people trying to date her is a mile long. You'd have to take a number." I flicked her on the forehead, wincing as the movement pulled at my stitches. "Ow, can any of those other jokers compare to me? Am I not richer, more handsome, more devoted to your precious Dr. Reed? You little traitor, you ate the soup I bought her, and I still haven't made you pay for it." Chloe made a face, then rested her chin in her hands, her eyes sparkling with gossip. "Seriously, though, you got the looks, the money. I'm sure you've got girls throwing themselves at you. What is it about our Dr. Reed? Her looks? Her body?" I held up a finger and wagged in her face. "Shallow. Do I look like a man who only cares about looks?" Obviously, it was her noble, moon-like grace and her cool, snow-like demeanor that captivated me. My tone shifted, and I lowered my voice, wiggling my eyebrows. "But between us, that body of hers. Damn, I'm dying for it. If I could just, with her. I'd do anything. I may not have any experience with that, but I'm a very considerate lover. The user experience would be top-notch. She might even get addicted." "Hey, what's with that look?" Chloe's expression had morphed from gossipy to horrified. She was making frantic faces at me, her features twisting into knots. A cold dread trickled down my spine. This couldn't be good. I turned my head stiffly. Evelyn was standing in the doorway of the treatment room, hands tucked into the pockets of her white coat. Her face was a blank mask, her eyes frozen over. The air turned to ice. We stared at each other for a solid 5 seconds. "It seems your wound is healing nicely, Mr. Vance. You're in high spirits," she finally said, her voice unnervingly calm. "You don't need to come back tomorrow." She turned and left, the door closing with a soft thud. Next to me, Chloe burst into a cackle that sounded like a goose being strangled. For the first time in my life, I truly hated my big mouth. A year's worth of carefully cultivated goodwill probably erased. Now I was just some pervert. I honestly felt like hanging myself in the hospital corridor. After dealing with a mountain of crap at the office, I went home that night and propped my feet up on the coffee table. My tablet screen was lit up with an article titled, "Top 10 Gifts Your Doctor Will Actually Love." Flowers? No, Evelyn wasn't that kind of girl. Too cliché. Expensive jewelry? Even worse. She didn't care about money and would probably think I was just showing off. A commemorative plaque? What kind of idiot gives a plaque to someone they're trying to date? A fine pen? That had potential. Cultured. It would have to be custom, something understated but luxurious. As I was mulling it over, a loud crack of thunder split the sky. The weather had been acting menopausal all day, sunny in the morning, and now a sudden thunderstorm. A brilliant idea struck me. Evelyn definitely wouldn't have an umbrella. I shot off the couch like I was spring-loaded, ran to my bedroom, and dug a long, black wool coat out of the messy pile of clothes on my chair. I threw it on, grabbed the only full-sized umbrella I owned from the entryway, and bolted out the door. By the time I got to the hospital, the evening shift was just taking over. I waited less than 10 minutes before that slim, elegant figure appeared in the lobby. "Hey, Eve." I started to call out, but stopped short as Evelyn calmly pulled a compact folding umbrella from her bag and opened it with a swoosh. My arm, still holding my own umbrella aloft, froze mid-air. "What a coincidence. You brought an umbrella too," I said lamely. She nodded. "Yes, the forecast called for rain." I was stuck, my grand gesture a total bust. Evelyn looked me up and down, a slight frown on her face. "Why are you here this hour? Are you not feeling well?" I sighed, putting on my most pathetic face. "I came to rescue my little white rabbit from the storm, keep her from getting wet. Turns out she's perfectly capable of saving herself and doesn't need me at all." Evelyn gave me a look usually reserved for escaped psychiatric patients. Her lips parted as if to say something, but she thought better of it. My eyes scanned the lobby and landed on a mother and her young son huddled by the entrance, trying to wait out the downpour. I walked over, bent down, and offered them my umbrella with a gentlemanly smile. "Here, for the little guy." Amid their grateful thanks, I strode back to Evelyn, hands in my pockets, grinning broadly. "Dr. Reed, I seem to have misplaced my umbrella. Could you possibly give me a ride home?" The expression on her face was a masterpiece of conflicting emotions. After a few seconds of silence, her umbrella tilted, covering me. "Let's go." "Wait," I called out as she was about to step into the rain. She looked at me, puzzled. I shrugged off my heavy wool coat and, ignoring her protests, draped it over her shoulders. I pulled it snug, my hands lingering to hold hers in place as I took the umbrella from her. The damp, cold night air hit me. It got cold. "The rain makes it worse. You should have worn more," I said, my voice carrying a note of chiding I hadn't intended. "What if you catch a cold?" Evelyn seemed to freeze, her lips slightly parted, speechless. My heart soared. I seized the opportunity, slipping my arm around her shoulders and half-hugging her as we walked toward the parking garage. The gears were turning in my head. I'd get her to my building, then invite her up for a drink to thank her. We'd open a nice bottle of wine, and when the mood was right, I'd lay my heart on the line. Maybe I'd get a kiss, maybe a hug. If I was really lucky, she might even stay the night. If she didn't resist, I'd seal the deal. Relationship confirmed. I could bring her home for the holidays. Perfect. The plan was flawless. The car soon pulled up in front of my apartment building. I unbuckled my seatbelt and turned to her with a smile. "Thanks so much, Evelyn. Why don't you? It's getting late. You should go up." She cut me off. Every fantasy I just died on the vine. I wasn't giving up. "What about tomorrow night? Are you free? I'd like to take you to dinner." Evelyn's fingers tightened almost imperceptibly on the steering wheel. I held my breath, waiting. "I'm busy." The same old answer. I deflated like a pop balloon, my shoulders slumping. This little rabbit was impossible. I hadn't just failed to make a dent. I'd chipped a tooth trying. After a moment of silence, I heard her add quietly, "Department dinner." My head snapped up. She immediately looked away, but not before I caught a fleeting, unreadable emotion in the corner of her eye. My heart, which had just hit rock bottom, shot back into the stratosphere. A department dinner? That meant drinking. And after a few drinks, well, I wasn't expecting a night of passion, but it was the perfect opportunity for some truth serum. Tomorrow, I had to go get her. I'd drive her home. I'd find out how she really felt about me. And if the feeling was good, I'd make my move while she was tipsy. Afterward, I'd just say she started it. Perfect. My smile returned, wide and shameless. I leaned in close. Good night, Dr. Reed. Don't worry about the coat. I'll come get it sometime. I shut the car door, watching until her taillights disappeared into the rain before humming a tune and heading inside. The next evening, I checked my watch for the 10th time and opened my iMessage thread with Chloe for the 11th. Her last message, 5 minutes ago, read, wrapping up soon. No major developments. How long was soon? She'd gone silent. Did she get drunk and forget about me? Ugh, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. I grabbed my keys and was about to head out when my phone buzzed. Chloe, it's over. Dr. Reed is good and buzzed. A grin spread across my face as my fingers flew across the screen. You're a lifesaver? Buy her another round. Get her to about an 8 out of 10 drunk. Humming to myself, I sped to the restaurant. In the lobby, I put on my best pleasantly surprised face. Hey, what a coincidence. Is this your department dinner? I greeted the semi-drunk crowd like an old friend. At this point, I was practically an honorary member of Evelyn's department. The table was a mess of slumped bodies. Chloe was passed out in her chair, and a few others managed a weak wave. I found Evelyn in a corner, her head resting on her arms on the table. She was looking at me through her water glass, her eyes hazy and unfocused. In that instant, all the noise in the room faded away. It was only her. A drunk Evelyn was a weapon of mass destruction aimed directly at my heart. I flagged down a waiter, paid the bill, and told him to put any extra rounds on my tab. Amid a chorus of slurred "Jules, you're the man," I gently helped Evelyn to her feet. Drunk, she was surprisingly docile, letting me guide her out. I got her into the passenger seat, my hands lingering a little too long as I fastened her seatbelt. I couldn't resist giving her flushed cheek a soft pinch. Finally got you, I whispered in her ear. After a lot of gentle shaking, I finally got her address out of her, then fumbled around in her purse for what felt like an eternity before finding her keys. Evelyn looked so slight, but carrying her was another story. By the time I managed to get her on her bed, I felt like I'd run a marathon. Babe, you may look like a feather, but you weigh a ton, I panted, collapsing onto the floor. I made a mental note. Sign up for a gym membership tomorrow. What kind of man can't even carry his own sweetheart? Pathetic. After catching my breath, I got up, took off her shoes, and tucked her under the covers. Then I went to the bathroom, soaked a washcloth in warm water, and gently wiped her face and neck. When I was done, I sat on the edge of the bed and just watched her sleep. She had this special quality that could quiet your soul. Even with her eyes closed, she was so beautiful I couldn't look away. Something inside me shifted. According to my original plan, this was the part where I was supposed to do something bad. But now that the moment was here, my nerve failed me. What if she got angry? What if she never spoke to me again? The angel and devil on my shoulders were having a full-on brawl. But the dim lighting and the quiet intimacy of the room were too intoxicating. I gave in. Holding my breath, I leaned down slowly, carefully, and brushed my lips against hers. It was just a touch, but as I pulled away, my traitorous tongue darted out and quickly licked the seam of her lips. I looked up and met a pair of perfectly clear eyes. Oh shit, busted. My mind raced, scrambling for an excuse, but in the next second, my world turned upside down. Evelyn grabbed the back of my neck, flipped me onto my back, and pinned me to the bed. Her kiss was brutal, almost violent. She's still drunk? I was ecstatic, wrapping my arms around her and clumsily trying to kiss back. But her assault was too intense. I couldn't breathe. Her hands on my waist sent sparks of pleasure and pain through me. I had to bite her lower lip hard, just to push her back an inch. Babe, you're too much. Let me catch my breath. I gasped. I looked up and met a pair of eyes that were completely sober. Not a trace of drunkenness remained. She's awake? Did I bite her awake? The charged atmosphere instantly evaporated, replaced by a suffocating silence. I swallowed hard, pulling out the line I'd rehearsed. You started it. In my script, she was supposed to be embarrassed, maybe a little guilty. I'd seize the moment, confess my feelings, and we'd officially be together. But Evelyn just stayed silent. She got off the bed without a word, walked barefoot to the armchair in the corner, and sat down, rubbing her temples as if exhausted. I sat up and watched her. The silence stretched. After a moment, I stood, picked up the slippers by the bed, and knelt in front of her. I took her cold foot and slid it into the slipper. Evelyn finally spoke, her voice low and hoarse. Julian. I settled onto the floor, cross-legged, my back against the mattress, and looked up at her. "Evelyn," I interrupted, my gaze serious. "If you say yes to me, I'll buy a condo at the Evergreen, 10 minutes from the hospital. I'll make you breakfast in the morning and pick you up after your shift. We'll get a dog, a golden retriever or a Bernese Mountain Dog, whatever you want. We can walk him at night, and when he acts up, we can scold him together. For the holidays, we can alternate between your family and mine. I've got this amazing bottle of single malt scotch, a perfect gift for your family. And if that's not enough, I've got other things." I took her hand from her lap, cradling it in mine, trying to warm her cold fingers. "Evelyn," I said, looking her straight in the eye, "I'm 27 years old, and this is the first time I've ever felt this way about anyone. Not before and never again." As I spoke, she just stared at me, her long lashes casting dark shadows on her cheeks. The emotion in her eyes was as deep as the ocean. I couldn't read it. I waited, barely breathing. After what felt like an eternity, she closed her eyes, pulled her hand from mine, and said in a strained whisper, "You should go." It felt like a sledgehammer to the chest. I looked down, digging my nails into my palm. It took me a moment to exhale, to push down the turmoil inside me before I slowly got to my feet. "I'm sorry. I said too much tonight." I walked to her kitchen, poured a glass of warm water, and found a jar of honey. I stirred a spoonful in, the clinking of the spoon against the glass loud in the quiet apartment. I placed the glass on her nightstand. "For the alcohol. Drink some of it. It'll help." Then I picked up my coat from the armchair, squared my shoulders, and walked out, closing the door softly behind me. When I got home, there was an unexpected guest in the living room. My father, who usually materialized only when he wanted something. "Do you ever do anything productive? Or do you just fool around all day?" He started in, no hello, no preamble. When you're already at rock bottom, your patience for this kind of crap is zero. I kicked off my shoes, ignored him, and headed straight for my room. "I've set up a meeting for you with Vanessa Lynn, old man Lynn's granddaughter. Tomorrow night at Aria. Lu presentable. I sent your contact info," he ordered. "Not going. You're going. Chasing after one woman for a year, it's pathetic. Have your fun, but don't let it get in the way of what's important." His voice rose. I stopped, my hand on my doorknob, the veins on my knuckles standing out. "Her name is Vanessa Lynn. Just finished her master's. Her name is Evelyn Reed." I cut him off, turning around. My voice was quiet but firm. "And I'm not just having fun. She is what's important. I'm not seeing anyone else." I looked him square in the eye and laid it all out. "Dad, I'm telling you now, I'm going to be with her. If you approve, great. If you don't, then you can consider me a bad investment. You're a businessman. You do the math." With that, I went into my room and slammed the door. A moment later, I heard an angry curse, followed by the sound of the front door slamming. I lay on my bed like a corpse, a wave of defeat washing over me. Evelyn's final, "You should go," and my father's ultimatum played on a loop in my head. I'd grown up getting whatever I wanted, never short of attention. But no one had ever tied me in knots like Evelyn. For a year, I'd poured my heart out. I'd spent more time in her department than at my own home. I knew she wasn't indifferent. So why, after I laid myself bare, would she still tell me to leave? But sometimes you find that one person you just can't let go of, the one you'd humiliate yourself for just to stay by their side. I pulled a pillow over my face and thrashed around, kicking the blankets to the floor in a silent tantrum. The knot in my chest finally loosened. I took a long breath. What else could I do? She was the queen I'd chosen. I had to see this through. But first, I needed to defuse the bomb my old man had planted. I picked up my phone to add this Vanessa Lynn, apologize, and cancel the ridiculous setup. I opened her profile. Her avatar was a bold, four-word banner. Gold medal matchmaker. The first post on her feed. Couple number 55, happily ever after. There's no match I can't make. Retainer, $9.99. In-person or remote consultations available. Without hesitation, I sent a friend request and immediately Venmo'd her $10,000. "Ms. Lynn, would you do me the honor of having dinner with me tomorrow night at Aria?" Vanessa replied instantly. "Deal. Send me the script." I opened the document she sent me. My eyebrows shot up. This girl was a professional. Are you sure this is going to work? I gulped down my fifth glass of iced tea, my legs starting to twitch under the table. I stared at the Instagram post I just made at her direction, a photo of Aria's elegant private room, captioned, "A new beginning," smiley face, my stomach churning. Across from me, Vanessa Lynn, with her edgy, silver-streaked pixie cut and oversized graphic tee, sucked on her bubble tea and rolled her eyes. Get a grip. For someone as emotionally constipated as your doctor, you need shock therapy. Haven't you ever heard the saying? You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Listen, I hissed, leaning forward, you better not screw this up for me. What if she thinks I've actually moved on? Then what? Before I finished, Vanessa kicked me hard under the table. Wake up. I've seen her type a million times. All polite and distant on the outside. But underneath, they're possessive as hell. Didn't you say she kissed you when she was drunk? Isn't that a sign? She leaned closer. Let me ask you something. Would you get wasted and start making out with a pig? I shook my head violently. Exactly. Relax. Trust me. This will be over in 30 minutes, tops. Vanessa leaned back, scrolling casually on her phone. I felt like I was sitting on pins and needles. A few minutes later, a shadow fell over our table, bringing with it a familiar, chilly aura. I looked up stiffly. Evelyn was standing there, her face dark enough to wring water from, her eyes like daggers aimed straight at me. Panic seized me. Oh God, we'd gone too far. Vanessa, enjoying the drama, ignored my frantic signals. She coyly covered half her face with her hand and said in a sugary voice, "Oh, Julian, I think you're so sweet. You really know how to treat a girl. How does a May wedding sound? And are 2 kids enough for you?" My blood ran cold. This woman was trying to get me killed. No, I didn't. My words were cut off by Evelyn. She grabbed the back of my collar and yanked me out of my seat like I was a misbehaving puppy, pulling me behind her. Her face was a mask of ice as she turned to Vanessa, her voice dangerously cold, though her expression somehow remained placid. "I'm sorry. They're not compatible." I stared, dumbfounded, at the tense line of her back, radiating an aura of pure fury. Evelyn said nothing more. She just clamped her hand around my wrist, her grip strong enough to crush bone, and dragged me away. As I was being hauled out, I saw Vanessa give me a little wave and a wink that screamed, "Good luck." Evelyn was furious. Not the screaming, yelling kind of angry. The silent, terrifying, calm before the storm kind. She didn't shout, she didn't curse. She just drove, her face set like stone. The air in the car was so thick, I could barely breathe. This was bad. I was definitely leaving Vanessa a 1-star review. She drove straight back to her apartment. I followed her upstairs like a prisoner on death row. I couldn't stand the torturous silence anymore. I had to say something. Look, it wasn't real. Before I could finish, the world spun. Evelyn grabbed my shirt, threw me onto the sofa, and then she was on top of me, her presence overwhelming, and her mouth crashed down on mine. This wasn't a kiss. This was a conquest, an invasion. The air was sucked from my lungs. My vision blurred, and tears pricked my eyes. Just as I tasted blood, she pulled back. She wiped the moisture from the corner of my eye with her thumb, her voice rough, so fragile. Before I could catch my breath, she scooped me up, positioning me to straddle her lap, face to face. Where did she get this strength? I'm a guy, for crying out loud. Evelyn kissed me again, but this time it was strangely tender, a desperate, tangled exploration. Her hands, however, were anything but gentle. They roamed, they squeezed, they sent waves of agonizing pleasure through me until I was crying out, my very soul trembling. Evelyn kissed my tears away, her hot breath a whisper against my ear, her voice deeper and huskier than I'd ever heard it. "Didn't you say you crave my body? Want to sleep with me? Let's try." She pulled me into the bedroom, tossed me onto the bed, and came down on top of me. How could I possibly say no to that? Julian Vance was finally getting my wish. I kissed her back passionately, my hands wrapped around her lean waist and tensed to roll over and take control. But she didn't budge an inch. The next morning, I woke up with an aching back, my body feeling like it had been dismantled and poorly reassembled. I looked at the naked, sleeping form of Evelyn beside me, then at the undeniable marks on my own skin, and fell into a deep, philosophical crisis. Last night had not gone according to plan. It was incredible, a 5-star experience, don't get me wrong. But wasn't I supposed to be the one in charge? How did I get overpowered by a little white rabbit? It defied the laws of physics. Evelyn stirred, stretching an arm out to pull me closer. Her warm palm began to gently massage my sore lower back. Her voice was husky with sleep. Still hurt. I had to admit, her bedside manner was impeccable. Gentle, considerate. But my pride was on the line. I groaned, tilting my head back to nip at her chin. "Babe, your technique needs a little work. How about the master takes the lead next time?" Evelyn let out a low chuckle, capturing my hand and kissing my knuckles. "It's fine. We'll just have to practice more." The world was upside down. Still, she was mine. I snuggled into her arms for a while longer, then fished my phone out from under the pillow. I sent Vanessa the rest of her payment, along with a 5-star review. She replied instantly. "Took you long enough? Did she break you?" My hand twitched, nearly dropping the phone on my face. I typed furiously, "Shut up." My baby was tired and sleeping in my arms. I couldn't bear to wake her. Winky face. As soon as I hit send, I felt Evelyn's gaze on my screen. She seemed lost in thought. I mischievously hooked a finger under her chin. What's wrong? Realize you've been played? Regretting it now? Too late. I'm a high-value asset, you know. You sleep with me. You're responsible for me for life. Evelyn was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled me tight against her chest, her chin resting on the top of my head, and said, her voice clear and deliberate, Julian, what if one day you find out that all my gentleness is a mask? That underneath, I'm actually obsessive, volatile, maybe even a little cruel? What would you do? I nuzzled against her warm neck. You're not cruel. If you were really cruel, you wouldn't be a doctor, saving people. Her arms tightened, squeezing me a little too hard. I'm serious. If you ever get tired of me, if you want to leave. She paused, her voice dropping lower. I might lock you up. Make it so you can only ever see me, so you can never leave. My head shot up. Was she into that? Evelyn's eyes were dark with an intensity one couldn't decipher, and I saw a flicker of something that looked like vulnerability. I propped my chin on my hand, pretending to think it over. Sounds kind of hot. Seeing the darkness in her eyes deepen, I quickly added, I mean, the whole getting tired of you and leaving part is never going to happen. But if you want to role play, I'm not against it. I leaned closer to her ear, whispering a wicked suggestion. We could hang some red silk scarf from the headboard. You could get some handcuffs. And then, the rest of my depraved fantasy was cut short. Evelyn, apparently at the end of her patience, flipped me over and silenced me with another kiss. My poor, aching back, in less than 24 hours, was subjected to a second round of punishment. So much for the little white rabbit. This was a wolf in rabbit's clothing. After another session that drained every last bit of my energy, Evelyn helped me to the shower, then tucked me back into the warm bed, holding me and talking softly about nothing in particular. My eyelids grew heavy, and I drifted off again. When I woke up for the second time, the apartment was filled with an incredible aroma. Evelyn was in the kitchen, wearing an apron, and a bowl of seafood risotto was steaming on the table. A profound sense of contentment washed over me. No wonder ancient kings built palaces for their concubines. I die happy keeping someone like this at home. I eagerly set the table, waiting for the last dish. Evelyn's cooking was flawless. She turned simple home-cooked food into a Michelin star meal. How could one person be so perfect? Evelyn, I said casually, scooping up a spoonful of risotto, come home with me for New Year's. Her hand, holding a serving spoon, paused. She looked up at me, her expression complicated. Earlier, she'd told me about her family. Her parents had passed away when she was young, and she'd been on her own for years. I couldn't let her feel that loneliness on a day meant for family. Is that a good idea? She asked, hesitating. I put down my spoon and reached across the table to take her hand. Nervous? Don't be Dr. Reed. Every bride has to meet the in-laws. Wait, no, that's not right. You're not a bride, and you're gorgeous. If you don't want to, I'll stay here with you. After a relentless campaign of begging, pleading, and shameless whining, Evelyn finally, reluctantly, agreed. She had to work a shift that afternoon. I wandered around her spotless, model home-perfect apartment, but there was nothing to add. It was, however, a little far from the hospital. The commute was a pain. Yes, I needed to close the deal on that Evergreen Lofts condo as soon as possible. In her name, as a wedding gift. No, my brain was short-circuiting. A moving gift. With my plans settled, I melted into her sofa, propped my feet on the coffee table, and dialed my mom. Hey, Mom? Yeah, listen, I'm bringing someone home for New Year's. Tell the caterer to add a few more dishes. Who else? Your daughter-in-law, obviously. Evelyn Reed, the one I told you about. Yes, the doctor. Stable job, great career. It's a huge bonus. We'll never have to wait in the ER again. Dad, you'll have to work on him. That old fossil better not mess this up for me. It took everything I had to win her over. What does she like to eat? The risotto is a definite hit. I'll ask about other things tonight. Yeah, talk to you later. I tossed my phone aside, already daydreaming about our future, waking up to her, picking her up from work, walking our dog hand in hand. When it was almost time for Evelyn's shift to end, I sauntered over to the hospital. Chloe was taking a break at the nurse's station. I walked up with an obnoxious swagger and tapped on the counter. Chloe, my friend, I have some great news for you. She didn't even look up from her phone. You finally decided to give up on Dr. Reed and see the error of your ways. I scoffed, leaning against the wall. Please, do I look like a quitter? The news is, I drew it out, savoring the moment. Your Dr. Reed has officially been conquered. By me. Chloe's head snapped up. She looked at me like I'd grown a second one, reaching out to feel my forehead. Are you running a fever? Delirious? What are you talking about? I slicked my hair back dramatically. Your boy Jules has the looks, the money. I don't smoke, I barely drink, and I don't snore. Aside for being a bit of a pain in the ass, I'm perfect. A prize like me? Of course she couldn't resist. Chloe rolled her eyes, so hard I thought they might get stuck. Keep dreaming. You had the perfect chance the other night and blew it. Dr. Reed belongs to the people. Perfect timing, I said, jerking my chin toward the end of the hall. There she is now. Watch this. I'll call her honey, and you'll see if she responds. Just then, Evelyn appeared. I raised my hand and called out in a loud, clear voice, Honey, I'm here to pick you up and take you home. The nurse's station fell silent. Chloe and the other nurses all stared at me, their eyes filled with a mixture of pity and secondhand embarrassment. To everyone's shock, except mine, Evelyn stopped, turned, and walked right over to me. She took my hand as if it were the most natural thing in the world, her voice impossibly gentle. What are you doing here? I told you to get some more sleep. I squeezed her fingers, lacing mine with hers, and grinned from ear to ear. I made a promise. I pick you up from work, we go home together. A soft, genuine smile touched Evelyn's lips. She nodded to the stunned nurses, and, still holding my hand, walked out with me as if no one else existed, leaving a trail of dropped jaws in our wake. I saw Chloe silently mouth the word damn. I, on the other hand, walked with my head held high, feeling like I was on top of the world. What? I feigned a stern expression. You thought you could just love me and leave me? Evelyn Reed, that's a dangerous line of thought. She gave a small, weary smile. I'm just worried about making a bad impression. Relax. I puffed out my chest. It's just a casual family dinner. My mom already loves you. That part was true. My mother, Lorraine Vance, is an avid consumer of fanfiction with an imagination that knows no bounds. When I braced myself to tell her I was dating a woman, she hadn't been angry at all. Instead, her eyes had lit up, and she'd fired off a rapid series of questions. Is she pretty? Does she have a good body? Are you the top, or is she? All the counter-arguments I'd prepared were useless. When she heard I'd finally won Evelyn over, she promised she'd already given my dad a stern talking to, and would make sure he behaved. She insisted on inspecting the goods as soon as possible. It turned out Lorraine Vance didn't care one bit about the gender of her child's partner. For her, beauty was justice. The moment she saw Evelyn, she was like a moth to a flame, grabbing her hands, asking about her work, her life, practically ready to sign me over on the spot. Evelyn, who had probably never experienced such an enthusiastic welcome from an elder, seemed a little overwhelmed, but her eyes were warm. My dad, meanwhile, was completely outranked in the family hierarchy. He kept trying to give me his stern father glare, but my mom would shoot him a look that sent him scurrying back to his corner. The dinner was a resounding success, at least for my mom and me. Before we left, Lorraine placed our hands one on top of the other and patted them, her eyes getting a little misty. I don't care about having a dozen grandkids. All I want is for my child to find someone they truly love, someone to walk through life with, and to be happy and safe. I felt a lump form in my throat and quickly put my arm around Evelyn's shoulder. Don't worry, Mom. Evelyn is head over heels for your son, and my devotion to her is a force of nature. You should be more worried about him. I gestured with my chin toward the dining table, where my dad was now red-faced and playing rock, paper, scissors with himself. Huh, lost again, old man. You think you can beat me? I've been a champion at this for decades. My mom stomped her foot. So embarrassing. Mark, get up here and carry him downstairs. It took me, Evelyn, and our driver, Mark, to wrestle my dead-drunk father into the car. As the car pulled away, Evelyn let out a small sigh of relief. She hadn't had a single drop of alcohol. By the time we got back to her apartment, it was less than half an hour until midnight. Evelyn settled me on the sofa, propping a pillow behind my back. How are you feeling? Dizzy. I just giggled, then yanked her down onto my lap. I leaned in close, my boozy breath washing over her face. Dr. Reed, we've met the parents. From now on, you're mine. When you fill out your hospital HR forms, remember to check the Mary box. Got it. Evelyn's fingers gently traced the side of my face. A soft smile curved her lips as she nodded. I planted a loud, sloppy kiss on her mouth, then staggered to my feet. I fumbled in the coffee table drawer, pulled out a thick manila envelope, and slapped it into her hands. Here, Julian Vance doesn't show up empty-handed. This is for you, a moving gift. Evelyn opened it, a confused look on her face, and pulled out a brand-new property deed. She opened it. When she saw the address, the Evergreen Lofts, and the name listed under owner, her long eyelashes fluttered. Remember what I said? I leaned over, resting my chin on her shoulder. That if you said yes to me, I'd buy a condo at the Evergreen. My voice dropped to a whisper, my lips almost touching her ear. It's only 10 minutes. From the hospital, you can sleep in an extra half hour in the morning. And if you still wake up on time. I blew softly against her sensitive earlobe, a wicked grin on my face. We could use that extra 30 minutes. For other things. Evelyn's ears turned bright red. I felt a surge of triumphant satisfaction. I wrapped my arms around her. Hey, babe, my mom was asking, what else do you like to eat? For New Year's. So she can prepare. Prepare what? Evelyn suddenly turned her head, her nose almost brushing against mine, her voice a low murmur. To eat you. Whoa, I exclaimed dramatically. I never knew the proper DR. Reed was so. MMPH. All my teasing was cut short as she crushed her lips to mine, devouring every word in a tangle of tongues. Outside, the first stroke of midnight was met with a deafening boom as fireworks exploded across the sky. The cheers of the crowd below rose up, a wave of voices shouting Happy New Year through the glass, a joyous celebration of the moment. The old year was gone. The new one had just begun.